Round 6 of the Ginetta GT Academy about to come your way live from the Oulton Park International Circuit under slightly overcast skies here in the northwest. A little bit of a wind starting to pick up as well. There is a threat of some rain this afternoon, but for now the track is dry and the temperature well into the high 20s, track temperature, and just underneath 20 degrees C air temperature. The famous lodge that overlooks the final corner, funnily enough, called Lodge Corner here at Oulton Park, one of the iconic scenes around the Oulton Park circuit. One of, if not maybe the most picturesque circuit in the UK. I do say that from a slightly biased viewpoint, this being my local circuit, but it really is a fabulous place to come and spend a weekend. And the annual visit for the British GT Championship to Oulton Park once again brings the Ginetta Racing Championships with them. And we've already been treated to a very entertaining Ginetta Junior race this morning, this afternoon I should say. Now the GT Academy cars ready to thrill the crowds who have made their way into Oulton Park to enjoy the sights and sounds of the Parkland circuit. Qualifying this morning saw Jamie Caudle set the fastest time, car number 51 therefore for E3 Sport. There it is. We'll start from pole position, and alongside him the impressive newbie Sam Shrimpton. Sam Shrimpton is the rookie class championship leader after the first 5 races of the season. And Jamie Caudle leads in the GT Academy class, so our 2 class championship leaders start together on the front row of the grid. Remember that in GT Academy you score points within your class, so you have GTA class drivers who are the slightly more experienced group of drivers, and then you've got the rookies who, as the name would suggest, are many of them in their very first season of racing. That certainly is the case for Sam Shrimpton, the Palmer Sport Academy winner over the winter, who made his racing debut at Donington Park at the start of the season and did so with a class win in the rookies class, something he's repeated a further 2 times, once more at Donington and again at Silverstone in the first race last time out. And Sam Shrimpton now looking to try and take a 4th class victory of the season here at Oulton Park. The green flag lap then gets underway. The Ginetta G56 safety car leads them around the Oulton Park International Circuit, and drivers have one more chance to scope out the track conditions, get some heat into the tyres, and get themselves ready for what should be, hopefully, a lively 20 minutes of racing. Certainly the Silverstone races last time out were particularly lively, a little bit too lively at times, so hopefully we get 3 clean battles this weekend and some good close racing from the GT Academy drivers. Let's take a look then, shall we, at how they're going to line up on the grid for race 1. It is Jamie Caudle and Sam Shrimpton, as I said, on that front row of the grid. Then Charlie Digby and Joe Edge are next. Joe Edge is 3rd in the rookie class championship, but 2nd best rookie on the grid. Shiv Sapra and James Nicholas are next. James Nicholas was fastest in qualifying, but a grid penalty after an incident at Silverstone last time out means he'll be starting 6th. Louis Darling and Alan Wright are together on row 4, with Peter Thompson and Alex Deaton on row 5. Alex further back than you might expect in the Paradigm by Zentech car. Paul Livesey and Lucy Hodgson are on row 6. Phil McGarty and Damien Duffy on the 7th row. And it's Chris Babington at the back of the 15-car grid. So it's a decent entry here at Oulton Park. 1 or 2 drivers not making the trip up to the northwest, but hopefully we'll have them back when we reconvene next time at Snetterton. They've got, after this weekend, only 3 more events to go. So actually it's a 17-round championship. By the end of this weekend, we'll be halfway through the season, which is a slightly strange thought, really. It feels like we're still very much in the early part of the year, but we're at the end of May, and this championship does have a little bit of a break 2/3 of the way through the year. So yeah, drivers who are looking to fight for a championship really do need to be looking at the championship scores really from now. The dropped scores on the official championship table have actually, yes, been applied, I believe, have they? 156 for Jamie Caudle. No, sorry, the drop scores haven't been applied, but penalty points have been taken off James Nicholas. So that's why James's final score on the points table is a bit lower than his total score. So with those 9 penalty points applied from Silverstone, James is 23 points adrift of Jamie Caudle, and Charlie Digby only a further 3 points back in 3rd. So that's in the GTA class. Sam Shrimpton is 61 points clear of Damien Duffy in the rookies. So it's pretty dominant stuff from Shrimpton, but what he really wants to do is claim an overall race victory. I think I'm right in saying he's not done that yet this year, and he, in the Union Flag liveried Palmer Sport car, Starting from the outside of row 1, he knows this is a golden opportunity to get an outright race victory. It's a 2x2 rolling start, as always is the case these days in the Ginetta GT Academy. 20 minutes are on the clock, and the first of 3 races here at Oulton Park gets underway now, and Sam Shrimpton looks to try and challenge Jamie Caudle into Old Hall Corner. Caudle, of course, has the beneficial inside line, though, and will retain the advantage. There's a bit of contact there into the side of Sam Shrimpton's car. That was from the 14 of Charlie Digby. Luckily, they got away with that, and actually Shrimpton is challenging for the lead, so it's not been a good run off the first corner for Caudle, and Sam Shrimpton, despite being wide at Old Hall Corner, has the inside line for Cascades. They're absolutely neck and neck out of the left-hander, and down the lakeside straight for the first time. Shrimpton on our left, now our right, but more importantly the inside line for Island Ben. Caudle on the outside, who's the bravest into the quick left-hander. They both absolutely throw it in there, but the more grip is on the inside line, and Shrimpton uses that to take the lead. There's a lock-up from Caudle, and he almost got into the side there, did he, of Charlie Digby, who almost ended up off the road. Very feisty stuff in the opening half a lap or so, but Sam Shrimpton is in the lead of the race, and that was not the first half a lap of a racing rookie, was it? That was some brilliant racecraft that you would expect to see, really, from someone with a lot more experience than he has, and he now leads the field as they head over hilltop for the first... Oh, no, he doesn't, sorry, it's Caudle back in front, so Caudle gets back ahead of Sam Shrimpton. And where is Digby? Digby's well down the order, so that's Shiv Sapra now into 3rd position. So it's all changed around. Big lunge up the inside there for the 61. Oh, there is Shrimpton. There is Shrimpton off the road at the Britain chicane. So it all kicked off through Britain's. I mistakenly thought that he was in 2nd place. That is actually going to be Digby then in 2nd, isn't it? So my apologies. Digby 2nd. It is Shrimpton who's been off up at Britain's, and he's found the barriers as well. So we'll try and piece all that together if we can. It's Caudle with the lead, and it is Charlie Digby 2nd, Shiv Sapra 3rd, Joe Edge 4th. That is now the battle for the rookie class lead. Shiv Sapra, who was out-qualified by Joe Edge, but has found a way ahead by the end of the opening lap. So a lot to unpack after lap 1 of racing, but somehow through it all, it is the pole sitter who ends up with the race lead. Caudle by 0.6 of a second over Digby, and then Shiv Sapra, Joe Edge and Louis Darling completing the top 5. There's James Nicholas, by the way, the blue and white number 99 car. Despite the fact we've lost Shrimpton, Nicholas is still only where he started, in 6th place. So James Nicholas, whose lap time in qualifying was good enough for pole position by about 0.4 of a second. We know he's got the pace to be at the front, but he lost the track position because he had that penalty hanging over him from Silverstone. So James Nicholas, with work to do, and strangely has actually fallen behind Louis Darling, who's moved up 2 spots from 7th on the grid to 5th where he runs right now. Nicholas, though, peeks to the inside of the Shell hairpin. Nothing doing there, and settles back in behind him. It was a very elbows out opening lap of racing, that, but that's because the drivers know the challenges of overtaking here at Oulton Park. Once the race settles down, it can be very, very tricky to actually move your way through the order. Ginetta Junior drivers managed it, but these are very different cars, the G56 Academies, and overtaking will present more of a challenge. James Nicholas, though, is trying to do just that here to Louis Darling. He's on the outside into the Hislop chicane. Louis is late on the brakes and manages to see off that particular challenge. James Nicholas 2nd in the championship, remember, but it's Jamie Caudle, the race leader, who is the championship leader by 23 points. So it's not looking good, this, for James Nicholas in his 2nd year in the championship. And same, of course, for Caudle. They're both 2nd-year drivers in GT Academy, and Caudle, so far, is getting the better results, really. It was here, of course, just over 12 months ago now, for the season opener in 2024, that James Nicholas won on his debut in the championship. He was the last year's Palmer Sport Academy winner, and as a result of that Palmer Sport Academy victory, he was given this drive in the GT Academy Championship. He qualified on pole for the first race of the year and went on and won it. Struggled a bit in the wet weather races that came later on, but we're back to dry conditions again this year at Oulton Park, and he is looking racy, but not quite able to get past Louis Darling still. And that failed attempt into Old Hall Corner brings Alex Deaton onto his tail, so Deaton maybe with an opportunity here to put some pressure on a man who has won races in the past here at Oulton Park. It all just settles down now as they head down the lakeside straight. Sam Shrimpton, by the way, I can tell you, is still circulating. He's just gone past me at the start-finish line with a little bit of damage to the front of the car, but the car is still going. That lap was a 1:55.0, not that quick, it must be said. He was about the 10th or 11th fastest car on track last time, so the car is clearly carrying some damage, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to dig his way back into contention, really, certainly without a safety car. Even then, it's quite likely that the car would require a bit of work from the pit crew. Good run out of Britons again here for James Nicholas. He had a good run out of there a lap ago, pulled alongside Louis Darling. I think they banged wheels that time. They're absolutely level into the braking zone, but it is almost always the car on the inside that prevails there. You can go around the outside through the right-hander to get the inside for the left-hander, but you're really relying on the car to your inside, not running you out of road, because there are pretty hefty tyre stacks on the inside of that left-hand element of the Hislop chicane, and if you do get squeezed out wide, you could end up having a pretty significant and costly meeting with those tyres, as many a driver has done over the years, and James Nicholas didn't fancy that, so he bailed out of the overtake and lives to fight another day. To the inside at Lodge, but again, just not quite close enough to make that move stick. So frustrating times this for Caudle. This, meanwhile, is what happened on the opening lap, so I wasn't making things up. Shrimpton was in the lead. Oh, and look at that, the car's just starting to break loose as he left shot. He bounced over the curb just there on the right-hand side, the right-hand element of the British chicane, and well, that was that. Off to the scenery he went. And Sam Shrimpton, the tiniest of errors, and I do suspect that cold tyres had a part to play in all of that. Had the tyres been warmed up, he might just have caught that. But as it was, he went into the barriers, and that's why he's at the back of the field. James Nicholas, meanwhile, finally gets ahead of Louis Darling, typically, just as we take our eyes off the battle. And James Nicholas claims 5th position, and should now have the pace, really, to bridge this gap to Joe Edge ahead of him. The trouble is the next 2 cars ahead of Nicholas aren't worth any points because they're both running in the rookie class, so he needs to get past Joe Edge and Shiv Sapra in order to have any chance of then chasing after Digby and Caudle at the front of the field, with whom he is fighting for GTA class points. Right over the curb he goes. Oh, what a big moment there. That's almost exactly what Shrimpton did, except again with warmer tyres, Louis Darling is able to save him, but that was really well timed to make the point that I was trying to make a lap ago. As with warmer tyres, it's easier to catch the car when it slides like that. But I suspect that's exactly what Sam Shrimpton did on that opening lap. And Louis Darling, thankfully, does not suffer the same fate, but does drop a little bit further away from the 2 cars ahead of him. Those 2 cars, by the way, absolutely nose to tail now, Joe Edge and James Nicholas, so it hasn't taken Nicholas long to bridge this gap. He was, at the beginning of the lap, about 8/10 or so behind Joe Edge, but he's already with him as they head towards Lodge Corner. Needs to make this move quickly. Like I said, this is a rookie class driver ahead. They're fighting for 4th on the road, but they're not in the same class from a points perspective. It's really important that James Nicholas tries to get past car 13 as quickly as possible. We still have just under 2/3 of the race to go. So there's time yet for Nicholas to score a few more points out of this race, but it will all revolve around how quickly he can make these next 2 positions. There is Alex Deaton, meanwhile, 7th place now, Alex Deaton, having started 10th, so he's picked up 3 positions. I said he was a little bit out of position on the grid. Deaton 4th in the championship at the moment. He's had two podiums, I think I'm rightly saying. Yes, 1 second and 1 third place finish so far this year, in class that is. Of course, he's running at the moment 5th of the GTA drivers, all the way down in 7th place overall. Round Ireland, into the braking point at Shell. Defensive line there taken by Joe Edge. Now that should tell James Nicholas that he's perhaps got the psychological advantage here. Joe Edge feeling the need to defend into Shell, even though James wasn't all that close behind. So clearly James Nicholas is in the mind of Joe Edge, putting the pressure on. This is where James is so strong through the British chicane, gets great rotation through the right-hand element of the chicane, and then fires the car up and over hilltop. Is there going to be a gap up the inside? He's thinking about it, looks to the inside, brakes late. That's a brave place to make an overtake. He snatches the brake, runs Joe Edge out of road, and moves through. It was forceful, but fair stuff that from James Nicholas. And again, he knew he had to get on with that, having closed in on Joe Edge. He'd been stuck behind him for a lap and a half, and very quickly was able to make his move into the Hislop chicane. So Nicholas to 4th, now sets off after Shiv Sapra, who at the start of the lap was about 2.5 seconds ahead of him. That will likely be more now with that side-by-side exchange. So it might take a lap or so before he closes in on the 3rd place driver. Joe Edge, of course, now has to keep an eye out for Louis Darling, who's very quickly filling his mirrors. Out of Lodge Corner they go, through the dip, over Deers Leap, right up against the edge of the road there. Great shot as the cars blast past the pits and head for Oulton Corner once again. Caudle leads them by 2 seconds now over Digby in 2nd position. 3rd place Shiv Sapra. 4th is James Nicholas. 5th Joe Edge, and you're on board with the 6th place man Louis Darling. he heads down the avenue through the right-hand kink at Denton, onto the brakes. There's a big bump just as you hit the brakes into Cascades, which is a cambered corner, but then the camber sort of disappears through the second half of the turn. Just as you start to pick up the throttle, the camber's no longer there to catch you, so a little bit of understeer crept in for Louis Darling there. And into Island Bend, where you want to get as close to that inside curve as possible. It's very easy to drift wide onto the grass there. And that can lead to fairly significant off if you get it really wrong. Jamie Caudle getting everything right in this race so far. The E3 Sport team have given him a very capable car, clearly, and Jamie Caudle, we know, is a very capable driver, twice a winner already this year, claiming one win at each event so far. He won the middle race, the second race at Donington, and also won the second race at Silverstone. And slightly longer races at Silverstone last time because they only had the two back to triple headers now, I believe, for the rest of the season. Back on board with Louis Darling as we head out at Nickelbrook Corner, driving uphill through Clay Hill underneath the pedestrian bridge, then the left-hand kink at Water Tower. Oh, we've had a spin down at Nickelbrook. That is Peter Thompson, who's found himself pointing the wrong way. Not sure how he got there. But, no damage done by the looks of it. Gets the car back underway and will likely have dropped down to 13th place. Sam Shrimpton's still 14th and still not lapping all that quickly. Mid to high 53s he's in now, which is about as quick as the 7th or 8th place drivers at the moment. Leaders come through again. And into Old Hall Corner goes Louis Darling. This really looks like where the majority of the interest is going to come in the next lap or so, doesn't it? We've got four cars running pretty close together, with Joe Edge 5th, Louis Darling 6th, Alex Deaton the second red and black car, not a teammate incidentally to Joe Edge, he's in 7th, and then 8th position, not that far back, is the 77 of Alan Wright. So Alan Wright with a sort of grandstand view of this battle right now. Incidentally, Deaton and Wright, the top two Chairman's Cup drivers in this race as well. So Deaton and Wright within a second of each other. That could be an interesting battle. There they are, two cars on the back of this group. Oh, Sam Shrimpton, by the way, I can tell you, has just pulled into the pit lane. So Sam Shrimpton is going no further in this one, or at least not until they've had a look at the damage done to the front of the car. I mentioned that his lap times were well off the pace, and sadly, he's realised, I think, that all is not well with that car. He'll be kicking himself for that mistake on cold tyres. Oh, and another mistake into the gravel at Shell. That's the 81, and Phil McGarty is not going to dig his way out of there. The rear axle is buried in the gravel. I think that is the Shell hairpin. And Phil McGarty is off the road. How did he do it? Big lock-up under braking. It's a bumpy braking zone there. And the car just skitters off into the gravel. He's being as gentle as he possibly can with the right foot so as not to bury the car. But unfortunately, bury it he did. Now, we don't have live snatch services available here at Oulton Park. If you need to move a car from a dangerous position, realistically, the best way to do that is under a safety car. They'll need to send a recovery vehicle of some sort out to Shell, which is the furthest point away from the pit complex as well. So that might require the race to be neutralised, and indeed it does. The safety car is out just as Louis Darling was shaping up for a move on Joe Edge. That will really frustrate Louis, who had teed himself up nicely there. He'd forced Joe to defend into Lodge Corner and then had a much better exit off the turn as a result. That is Shrimpton's car being worked on. That is Phil McGarty jogging away as best he can through the gravel. It's not the easiest thing to do, to run through a gravel trap, I can assure you, let alone, well, walking through it is a challenge, actually. And the safety car's come out, but not picked up the race leader, unfortunately. This is going to take a little bit of sorting out. Not sure whether race control has an option to put a message out to the drivers via radio to slow down those who are in front of the safety car, or whether they're going to have to wave everyone else by. But either way, not ideal. And with only just under 6 minutes to go, wonder whether we're going to have a lot of time for any more racing laps. Remember, a green flag lap around here is 1 minute 51 for the quick drivers. Behind the safety car, you'd expect that to double. So we're going to very quickly find ourselves running out of time here, I fear. There's James Nicholas. Well, he's got the fastest lap of the race. He had been lapping about 3/4 of a second or so a lap faster than Shiv Sapra, who is the next car ahead of him. Shiv looks like the race leader because he's the first car behind the safety car, but Shiv, I remind you, is third. So Jamie Caudle and Charlie Digby have got ahead of the safety car. They're down at the Nickelbrook complex right now, and yeah, there we go, there's the wave around. So they're deciding it's easier to wave the rest of the cars through and then just wait for the leader. But that, by definition, means we will have at least one more lap of safety car after this. At least one more lap, because they've got to wait for everyone else to do a full lap now and close in on the safety car. And like I said, the safety car laps are not all that rapid, so I think we're going to be touch and go here. We might get a lap in if they're really efficient about this. It would be a shame if this race ended without the green flags flying once again. You can see there just how far back Shiv Sapra and the rest had fallen. There he is into Driz. Now Shiv, to be fair, is not really going all that quickly. Of course, the track is neutralised. The track is under full yellow flag coverage. But there isn't a set speed limit that they have to stick to. They just have to be mindful of marshals and recovery vehicles being on the track. So in a way, Shiv is doing the right thing here by not going all that quickly around the track. But in doing so, it means that he's not exactly speeding up the process of getting everyone back together. They're the leading two, Caudle and Digby. Caudle will be very relieved, I think, to have emerged from the Britain chicane on that first lap with the race lead again, because Shrimpton really put up a proper fight on the opening half a lap. And did really well, actually, to survive. There was a tiny touch which happened at the very first corner on lap one between Shrimpton and Digby, and that could easily have sent Shrimpton around and caused all sorts of carnage, but he did a good job to hold on to it and then actually converted that into a challenge for the lead at the very next corner. I can only imagine Caudle missed a gear or something coming out of Old Hall, because he should have been well ahead of Shrimpton when they arrived at Cascades, and instead they were side by side. So the Shiv Sapra group, third place on back, heads past the scene of the crime. Phil McGarty's car is out of the gravel. Phil, I would imagine, is back in the car now and will be able to just drive the car back to the pit lane. So that's good news. It means that the track will be clear by the end of this lap. It's then all down to how quickly they can complete this next lap behind the safety car, because they will have to do another whole lap. The safety car, look, is waiting underneath the Paul Warwick Bridge, which is the main entrance to the circuit between Druids and Lodge. And there is your race leader, Jamie Caudle, up at Water Tower. So he's still about a quarter of a lap ahead of the rest of the pack. They haven't really caught these two. Of course, once they pull up behind the safety car, their speed will reduce. But I just don't know. We're going to have under 2.5 minutes left when they get to the line. I don't know if we're going to get a safety car lap in within 2.5 minutes. It'll be less than that, actually. There is Phil McGarty's car. Phil McGarty trudges his way back out onto the circuit and will work his way back to the pit lane area. And now, at last, Jamie Caudle and Charlie Digby have caught the safety car, but there's no sign of the rest of the field. They are just turning into Lodge now, I can tell you. There they are. So, okay, they're all going to be back together, but can we get a lap behind the safety car in under 2 minutes? That's what we need to do. If we're going to have a lap of racing here, then they're going to have to get a move on. Now, if the track is clear, which we believe it to be, I don't think there was anything else that needed to be dealt with up at Shell. Once they get that recovery vehicle out of the way, the track will be good to go. So I think we can go racing at the end of this lap. It all depends on how quickly we get back around to the start-finish area. So Caudle leads the way, number 51. Jamie Caudle with a solid race so far. Wants to try and seal the deal now. Started racing in the GT Academy Championship last year, Jamie Caudle. Did 5 events in the rookie class. That's all the racing experience that he'd ever had. Does a lot of sim racing as well, I believe, in his spare time. And says that apparently he has a pre-race ritual of some meditation and playing a game of Dobble with the team. If you've never played Dobble, by the way, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's a very entertaining game, but not your typical pre-race prep for a racing driver, but whatever helps focus the mind. You do need quick reactions, in fairness, to win that game. So Jamie Caudle, maybe there is a secret to that. We'll see. See the Formula 1 drivers partaking in a game or two, perhaps ahead of the Monaco Grand Prix tomorrow. You definitely need some quick reactions to do well around there. Oulton Park has been likened to Monaco in the past, not because we have a glamorous marina full of super yachts, but the tight and twisty nature of the circuit, narrow, difficult to overtake. There are some similarities. but don't quite have the weather here generally. It's getting further overcast, the wind's picking up, and the temperature, I'd say, is starting to dip now. None of this is really going to matter, though, in the context of GT Academy, because sadly, as you can see in the top left-hand corner of your screen, the time has now ticked down to 0, so the race is over. Unless race control intend to add time onto the race, which I don't believe they are, then I think this is going to be one of those situations where the race restarts, in inverted commas, but of course you're not allowed to overtake before the timing line, and when they see the timing line, they will see a checkered flag. Indeed, the checkered flag is waving, and so it is a notional run to the flag for Jamie Caudle, who wins his 4th race of the season and extends his championship lead in the GTA class. It is Charlie Digby second, and Shiv Sapra picks up the rookie class win in 3rd position. So a bit of a shame that that's the way the race ended, but I don't think it would have changed any of the meaningful positions, really. I think Jamie Caudle pretty much had that one under wraps, didn't he? And wasn't that likely to fall back into the clutches of Charlie Digby, who gave chase as best he could, but not really able to match the pace, ultimately, of our eventual race winner. The eventual race winner then was the pole sitter, Jamie Caudle. It wasn't quite a lights-to-flag victory, because he did lose the lead, remember, in the early stages, but when Sam Shrimpton went off on cold tyres, he inherited the lead again and never looked back. It was Charlie Digby second, and Shiv Sapra in 3rd wins in the rookie class. It was then James Nicholas in 4th, 5th place for Joe Edge, 2nd of the rookies, with Louis Darling and Alex Dieter next. Alan Wright was 8th. He was 3rd of the rookies, also 2nd in the Chairman's Cup. Alex Deaton was the winner in that category. 9th place then for Paul Livesey, and 10th for Peter Thompson. So Jamie Caudle is your winner in race 1 of the weekend, round 6 for the Ginetta GT Academy. He extends his points lead, and with James Nicholas finishing 3rd in class, while James salvaged some decent points from that race, but of course the championship lead will continue to extend. The first race of the weekend for the Ginetta GT Academy saw Jamie Caudle start from pole position, and a little bit of paint trading between Charlie Digby and Sam Shrimpton at turn 1, but Sam somehow still got a good enough exit from Old Hall to challenge Caudle for the lead into Cascades, and at the next turn, Island Bend, he moved ahead of the locking up pair of cars behind him, who mercifully ended up not tangling and then ending up in the gravel. Then Shrimpton lost it on cold tyres at the very next turn. He went off into the barriers from the lead of the race. Sam Shrimpton made a costly error and unfortunately would later retire to the pit lane with damage. That was a fate that was very nearly shared by Louis Darling, who almost had exactly the same thing happen a couple of laps later, but was able to save the slide. James Nicholas was then fighting his way through after that pre-race penalty that was hanging over him from Silverstone. The man who'd been quickest in qualifying would eventually recover to 4th. Phil McGarty ended up in the gravel trap at the Shell hairpin. That brought about a late safety car period, after which we didn't unfortunately have time for any more green flag racing, and so behind the safety car it was Jamie Caudle who extended his championship lead.